All right, everybody. This is Joseph P. Farrell with news and views from the Nefarium on Thursday, December 4th, 2014. And first, a brief announcement. Daniel and I have successfully tested a new platform for our members' vid chats, and we are going to have a live vid chat on December 12th with all of you who are members of the website on the new platform. Please understand you now have to access the vid chat by going directly into the members area and then clicking the vid chat tab. We'll have more about that. But anyway, in today's news, I want to talk about something that is very interesting. We have another banker death that slipped under the radar. At least it slipped under my radar, and until it was brought to my attention a couple days ago by an individual who told me about the suspected suicide of a banker in Connecticut by the name of Scott Therriault. All right, that last name is spelled Therriault. And I went searching for this individual and I found his obituary, which I want to read to you. And then I want to read you his another biography that I found online that I found very interesting. He was dead of suspected suicide, according to this individual who put me onto his name, at age 42. And this is what it says in his obituary. Listen, this is very interesting. He graduated from the University of Rochester with a degree in economics. Scott worked as a trader on Wall Street for Merrill Lynch, J.P. Morgan, and UBS. That's the United Bank of Switzerland Group, all right? And most recently was a commercial real estate investor. Now, stop right there. All of that says to me several things. High frequency algorithmic trading, real estate, particularly commercial real estate, which, if you've been following Catherine Austin Fitts, real estate and mortgage fraud are a huge part in her hypothesis of what she thinks is the hidden system of finance. And then finally, UBS, the United Bank of Switzerland. Well, that kind of conjures to my mind gold and the referendum that was held in Switzerland about repatriating gold. So in other words, we have somebody here who possibly might have some inside knowledge as to what is going on in the global financial markets, who might have some insight or may have suspected or come across information that led him to conclude other things were happening in the global financial system. Now, what's interesting to me is I'm going to skip most of this obituary. I'll link it for you so that you can see it. But I'm going to skip down to the end of this obituary because the individual who contacted me about this gentleman told me that he was suspected of suicide. And in the brief time that I had to prepare today's news and views, I wasn't able to see any information online yet where suspected suicide was indicated in any news reports. Now, this individual claimed to be kind of close to this victim here. At the end of the obituary, it says, quote, "A mass of Christian burial will be celebrated on Thursday, October 30th, 2014 at 10 a.m., meeting directly at the St. Pius X Church, 834 Brookside Drive, Fairfield, Connecticut." Now, that's interesting to me because, as you know, suicide is not condoned in the Roman Catholic Church, and I don't know if they changed the rules or not about burying suicides on consecrated ground, but that indicates that there is some suspicion over the man's death, that if indeed it was a suicide, the church authorities may not be buying. So when I read that, I got very suspicious, so I decided to do a little more digging, and I found an executive biography of this gentleman linked for a corporation, and I'll link it for you. And I want to read you what this says. This is significant because it confirms some of my earlier suspicions when I read the obituary. During his service at Merrill Lynch, J.P. Morgan Chase, and UBS, Mr. Therriault constantly ranked among the top 5% in his production categories and was personally responsible for over $25 billion in equities transaction. Scott aggregated in excess of $500 million in net profits on behalf of the financial institutions and investment banks that have employed him throughout his esteemed career. Now, I'm reading from his executive biography here. Mr. Therriault became an executive director at J.P. Morgan Chase in 2002, where he managed a team of 8 traders, listen carefully, who focused on the technology, media, and telecom sectors of the NASDAQ exchange. Scott was later identified as the group's top NASDAQ producer in 2004 and ranked 3rd in overall Wall Street trading volume within the semiconductor sector. His commitment to implementing innovative sales and marketing techniques on the institutional block trading desk helped create more efficient trading performance and, listen carefully, fostered synergies between the pure equities, derivative trading, and investment banking divisions of J.P. Morgan. In 2004, Mr. Therriault was successfully recruited by the UBS group in Switzerland specifically to provide a senior leadership to the firm's equity sales and trading group. There, he continued to target the technology, media, and telecom sectors of the market. Listen, through the introduction of advanced trading strategies, initiatives, and algorithmic platforms, ding, 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 Scott became a key contributor to an exemplary team performance in high-risk NASDAQ block trading and continued to be the group's top-ranked producer through the establishment of new institutional trading relationships. So in other words, this guy was an expert in algorithmic trading, in high-frequency trading, all right, and doing massive amounts of trading in that way. And that, to me, coupled with the earlier statement that he at J.P. Morgan worked in the field of pure equities and derivative trading, all right, this gentleman here may have come across something in his dealing with these things that may have convinced him or may have made him a liability to somebody. Now, what might that be? Now, I've speculated before, and I'll say it again here, that I'm extremely suspicious of the vast surveillance capacity of the United States, not because I'm suspicious that they're spying on everybody, but rather because I suspect that the ultimate purpose of this platform is not simply to surveil people. It's to model aggregate human behavior, make market predictions, and thus, ultimately, this surveillance mechanism becomes a huge insider trading mechanism, and that's a hypothesis that former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Catherine Austin Fitts also shares. So he may have been in a position, as I speculated before, along with all of the other bankers that have died under suspicious circumstances, to have seen the influence of something deeper within the global banking system than merely activity of central banks or big prime investment banks like J.P. Morgan or UBS. He may have seen something in his trades that led him to believe things that he normally may not have believed, or he may have seen something that made him a liability to somebody else. So this is getting very interesting, folks, because there has been also a death of a Russian banker who is the son of a senior Kremlin advisor and chief of staff member, Alexander Ivanov, in the United Arab Emirates. So something's going on in the global marketplace with the death of these bankers. In this gentleman's case, I suspect we're looking at something to do with high-frequency trading, as his biography says, that we're looking at something with the manipulation of markets, derivatives in particular. That's in my mind a big alarm bell, because this gentleman would have been able to track any activity dealing with derivatives trade, including, let's put it this way, suspicious disappearance of derivatives bundles, all right? This gentleman would also have been in a position to look at commodities markets, particularly gold. He would have been in a position to look at real estate markets. So in other words, this gentleman here is a very significant figure in my opinion. And I want to thank the individual who brought his name to my attention. We can now add another name to our growing list of suicided bankers. There is something going on, folks, and I want to save my final thought for the blog that I hope to be writing sometime this weekend concerning this subject a bit more. So watch for that blog, and there's more to come about the story of the suicided bankers. That's it for today's news and views from the Nefarium, everybody. I'll see you on the flip side. Bye-bye, and God bless.